Hi, I'm Bob Weeks. I'd like to talk about Kansas school standards. The National Center for Education Statistics has a project called Mapping State Proficiency Standards onto the NAEP scales. This project establishes a relationship between the tests each state gives to assess its students and the National Assessment of Education Progress. That's a test that's the same in all states. These analyses are important for two reasons. First, they allow each state to compare the stringency of its criteria for proficiency with that of other states. And second, mapping analyses inform a state whether the rigor of its standards, as represented by the NAEP scale equivalent of the state standard, has changed over time. So let's take a look at reading. And remember, we're comparing the rigor of state standards to national standards, not whether a state scores high or low compared to other states, but the strength of the standards it sets compared to other states. Here's a chart from the study looking at grade 4 reading standards. It shows for each state how the state's proficiency standard maps onto the NAEP equivalent score. Those states at the left have lower standards and those states at the right have higher standards. I'll show you where Kansas ranks. It's low. Here's a similar chart looking at grade 8 reading standards. I'll highlight Kansas here again. Here we have the analysis provided for grade 4 mathematics standards. Again, remember, states on the left have low standards compared to the NAEP, while states on the right have high standards. Here's Kansas. And here's the chart for grade 8 math scores, again showing Kansas. In its conclusion, the National Center for Education Statistics said, although no substantive changes in the reading assessments from 2007 to 2009 were indicated by the state, the NAEP scale equivalent of both its grade 4 and grade 8 standards decreased. Looking back a little further, it said Kansas made substantive changes to its reading grade 8 assessment between 2005 and 2009, and the NAEP scale equivalent of its grade 8 standards decreased. In other words, the National Center for Education Statistics judged that Kansas weakened its standards for reading performance. For mathematics, NCS judges that some standards were weakened and some did not change. And in its summary of Kansas reading standards, NCES concluded, in both grades, Kansas state assessment results showed more positive changes in achievement than NAEP results. For mathematics, the summary reads, in grade 4, Kansas state assessment results showed a change in achievement that is not different from that based on NAEP results. In grade 8, state assessment results showed a more positive change. In other words, in 3 of 4 instances, Kansas is claiming positive student achievement that is not apparent on national tests. Here's what's ironic. At a time when Kansas was spending more on schools due to an order from the Kansas Supreme Court, the state actually lowered its standards for schools. Kansas public school spending advocates now want courts to order even more spending. Let's ask for accountability first. Let's ask these questions. Why did Kansas reduce its standards? And why do the Kansas standards rank so low? I'm Bob Weeks. For more on this and other topics, visit the Voice for Liberty at wichitaliberty.org.